It's Wellness Wednesday, and I am delighted to interview Dr. Siki Gwanya-Mdletye. You are a medical practitioner, a speaker, an author who helps individuals and organizations thrive through well-being coaching, wellness program design and implementation. You're also a Kingswood parent, and I'm very excited to have a few moments of your time. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Affectionately known as Dr. Siki, I must congratulate you as well. Just published a book last year called Healed and Whole, Basic Concepts, Medical Insights, and Biblical Truth for Your Mending. I've read it. It's a fantastic book. So again, thank you for this. It is really such a fantastic resource. And on Wellness Wednesday, I thought it'd be lovely just to hear your thoughts. You're a medical doctor and you talk about healing and wholeness, wellness in a broader sense, not just in the physical sense. Tell me more about that.
So for me, my thoughts on healing and my concept on healing, on wellness, on well-being and wholeness comes from two major sort of sources. And the first, I think the obvious thing is the fact that I'm a doctor, I'm a medical doctor, and I have been trained quite extensively on the human body, on the normal or normalcy in terms of the human body. So your anatomy, the structure of the body, the physiology or the function of the body, and then applying to that what goes wrong, which is the pathology. And I've learned ways in which we intervene to try and make things all right when things go wrong. So whether it's medical with with medication or with pharmaceutical products or surgical interventions. So coming up with interventions to help things start to go right when things go wrong.
Yes.
And so, that has had a lot to do with how I think about wellness and well-being, how I think about health and healing. The second and quite significant sort of source of, or the shaping of my thought or thinking around healing and wholeness comes from my faith. I'm Christian. And my faith in God has had a lot to do with the way I think and perceive the whole concept of well-being and wellness. And the reason why that for me, and I know that, there are many people who are Christians and don't necessarily see the two to merge in any kind of way. The reason why for me, I see the two as being interdependent is the fact that my understanding of God is that firstly, he is the creator of the human body, and that he made the human body. He knows every single nook and crevice in our body. The Bible says he knows every hair on our head, something I've never taken the time to count.
Yeah,
so his knowledge
yes.
of yes. So the knowledge of the human body and so as I said, the scientific knowledge of the human body that I have gained through my studies in medicine, I think one of the things that keeps scientists humble, whether or not they profess a faith in God, is knowing that whatever you study, whatever you research and find out about, you can never be completely certain. There are no studies that have a p-value of 0. Studies that are absolutely confident that what we have found is the truth and the final truth. Every single study will tell you that what I found, this is what I found, this is the extent to which it can be applied externally or to another population outside of the population that I have studied. But there is that chance that my findings may be outside of what the truth is or the actual truth is. So what I was saying is that the way in which I merge what I know scientifically about the human body with my faith in God is the fact that God is all-knowing. So when you talk about God's knowledge of the human body, there you have an absolute 0 p-value. There is no chance that what God knows is due to chance.
Yes.
So you know that 100% what God knows about the human body is absolutely true. So in him being absolute in his knowledge of the human body, his knowledge is absolutely superior to the knowledge that I have.
Yes.
Any revelation I can have about the human body and its functioning comes secondary to the knowledge that he has.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so him being all-knowing, him being the creator, he also introduces himself to us, which I speak about in the book, as the healer. So much as I have learned strategies to try and help the human body get better when it ails, he knows, for me, what I do is to treat, he heals. And there's a difference between the two in that when he heals, that is absolute, and when he heals, that is complete. When I treat, I'm trying to help you get to better, and hopefully I can even get to solving your problem completely, but there is a complete, a whole kind of healing that comes from that kind of a perspective.
Yes.
So this is really where my writing the book Healed and Whole stemmed from, and it stemmed really from saying there are these two paradigms. At times people see them as being parallel and never meeting, and I view it differently, and I wanted to share that view that I have gained.
I want to move on to something I've picked up in your book, talking about fear. There is a lot of uncertainty and fear at the moment, and you write in the book, there is a fine line between faith and fear because both make the unseen real. And then you also go on to say fear by definition is future-based. I love that. How do we deal with fear and the impact fear has on our minds and bodies?
Sure, Tim, fear is such a powerful, emotion, and fear is, when I compare fear with faith, the reason I say that is because both of those really exist in the future. Faith we know as being the evidence of things that you hope for, being what you are hoping for becoming true or becoming real, becoming tangible. You realize that fear does exactly the same thing, but it's what you don't hope for. It's what you're hoping this is not going to happen. But you thinking about it, you are giving it airtime in your mind. And so you're meditating on it really. Okay? And so because you're giving it that much airtime, because you're giving it that much focus, you are creating an environment where it can be accommodated as a reality. Mm-hmm. So fear really is sort of the inverse of faith, because it's you're worried about something that's not happening. So the way I tend to suggest in dealing with fear, because secondary to fear will come anxiety, isn't it? Because you worry so much about something coming true that's not there yet. It can actually become quite debilitating, that you meditate so much on it that you put your life on hold because you're worried about this thing coming true. I mean, right now we have a lot that we can fear about. I usually say some people are such professionals at worrying that when you finish worrying about one thing, you wonder what next can I worry about. So, and those kind of being so focused on worries can actually consume your life, and you can spend a large amount of your time wondering and worrying about things that actually have not yet materialized. Yes. Sometimes there is real reason to think about these things and to worry about these things. Sometimes you've seen, people around you, whether either becoming victims of whatever it is that you're worrying about. But the fact is that you are giving it that attention, and therefore you are creating the environment in which it can realize, in which it can become reality. I propose that you rather look at faith. In psychiatry and in psychology, we talk about mindfulness and sort of directing your mind to the here and the now. And I want to propose a step further to say, direct your mind rather to what can I do? So when you have things that you're worrying about, of those that I'm worried about, how much of it is in my control? A lot of the time you'll find that there's quite a lot of it that's not in my control, and there's not much that I can do about it. But in whatever the circumstance, there usually is that one or two things that is within your control. I suggest that you focus on those things that are within your control, because those things that are not within your control, they pretty much isn't much that you can do about it. This is where faith becomes important, because then when you acknowledge that I am not in control of X, Y, and Z materializing, then let me surrender that to someone who is in control.
Yes.
And let me focus on what I can control.
Yes.
Okay. So focusing on what you can control, and make an example. For instance, right now we're in uncertain times. We hearing a lot of rising statistics about people being infected with coronavirus, the death rate being high, and the temptation can be to worry and become almost pedantic about am I next, are my relatives next, and worrying about those. Granted, you're not in control of the epidemic, you're not in control of what's going on around you, you're not in control of whether or not the space you're going to walk into next has virus in there or not. You are in control, however, of whether or not you choose to wear a mask. You are in control of whether or not you choose to stay healthy, because your immune system does respond to your efforts. So when you keep healthy, when you exercise, when you eat right, when you have enough vitamin C and so forth, when you do all those healthful activities that help your body actually to give you a fighting chance, that you are in control of. Okay, so my suggestion then in countering fear is to say, okay, what am I actually in control of? And what I am in control of, I become deliberate about actually doing. This then shifts your attention or your focus from that which you are not in control of, which you see as imminent risk, to what you are actually in control of. And I then say a step further, surrender that which you are not in control of to God, who is actually in control. And this really does help to curtail that anxiety, that it does not, become a raging fire that consumes you.
Oh, brilliant. Dr. Siki, thank you so much. And we're out of time, but that is amazing to give us some thoughts, some medical things. We're talking about the pandemic and what we can and can't control. And yeah, I think that's encouraging and comforting for everyone that will be watching this to go, what, we do what we can and the rest we can have faith in. So thank you so much. Thanks again for your book. I have a signed copy, but others can get it on Amazon. But really appreciate your time and as a parent for all the work that you are doing, and for spending this time with us and sharing your wisdom with us. Food for thought and food for our souls as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me, Rev Tim.